Hey friends, and welcome to this new video dedicated to Garten of Banban. Today we're going to talk about something interesting. As you know, the next chapter of the series is chapter 9, also known as Last Ticket to the Abyss. But before diving into the details, we need to remember something very important. Chapter 5 hasn't been released yet. Yes, you heard that right. So today we're in a somewhat unique situation where we'll have to do a bit of speculation and analysis to understand which game icons will be the most important, both in chapter 9 and in part in chapter 5. In today's video we'll focus specifically on the fire icons of chapters 9 and 5. We'll try to figure out which symbols, characters, or game elements will take the spotlight and how they might affect the story and gameplay. I'll guide you step by step through all the theories and information available so you can be fully prepared for the new chapter, even though some details are still shrouded in mystery. Basically, if you're curious to discover which will be the most interesting icons, what surprises await us, and how these elements could connect between chapter 5 and chapter 9, then you're in the right place. In the video, I'll show you everything we know so far and we'll discuss together the possible novelties. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive in and get ready to explore the fire icons of Garten of Banban. Now let's move on to the chapter 9 icon. In previous videos, I already showed you an icon, but it was low quality and didn't let us see all the details. This time, however, I did some more research, and if we go on SteamDB, we can get a preview of the game icons. Unfortunately, the icon was initially low resolution and didn't do justice to the details. But don't worry, because thanks to some specialized software, I managed to increase the resolution and get a clearer and more precise image. And finally, we can see clearly it better. The icon shows Brushista's head. Brushista will be the main mascot of chapter 9 and one of the most important characters in the story. For those who don't know her yet, Brushista is a mascot inspired by an anteater, and she has the role of an artist. We did not see her in the previous chapter and she had a secondary role. She was part of the game world but didn't have a central role in the events. Things change completely in chapter 9. Already at the end of chapter 8, Brushista hints that the rules of the game and the city will change. This makes us think that in the new chapter she might have a more dominant role. Maybe she wants to take control of everything and guide the events according to her will. Let's not forget a very important detail. At the end of chapter 8, Syringion, the head of the city and a central character until that moment, dies. This creates a real power vacuum, and Brushista could be ready to fill it, becoming a key figure in chapter 9. So, looking at the icon and reflecting on the details of the previous story, we can already hypothesize that Brushista will be much more than a simple mascot. She will be at the center of the events, with an active role in the plot, and probably also in the gameplay. Her image in the icon is not just an aesthetic detail, but a clear sign of how important she will be in the next chapter. Now let's move on to the next part and talk about the icon of chapter 5. As we all know, in the various releases of the Garten of Banban series, the game icons always play a very important role. They always show the head of the main mascot of each chapter. This choice is not random because in a single glance the icon tells players who will be the protagonist or the most important character of the game. For example, in chapter 9 the icon shows the head of Brushista, and we have seen how this indicates the central role she will have in the story. Following this logic, we can already deduce that the icon of chapter 5 will show the head of the main mascot of that chapter. In the last few days, thanks to some leaked information, we discovered the official temporary name of this character. It is the Stalker, a name that already creates curiosity and unease, and that makes us understand that his role in chapter 5 will probably be quite dark or mysterious. If we take a look on SteamDB, for now we can only see a first version of the icon, which we can call temporary. This image, however, does not show the character's face yet. It is practically just a doodle, a placeholder image that indicates the work on the official icon is not yet complete. Despite this, we can make some interesting considerations. The fact that there is already a temporary icon confirms that the Stalker will be the main mascot of chapter 5, and that when the final icon arrives, we will finally see his face in all its detail. This face, probably eerie and mysterious, will give us the first clues about the character's role in the story and the kind of challenges that await us in the game. So, even if we cannot see the final icon yet, we can already know how the Stalker will look, and we can theorize his role in chapter 5. But now, let's try to figure out where the icon of chapter 5 might have already been revealed, even if only in a very subtle way. As we saw earlier, the current icon visible on SteamDB is just a temporary doodle, so it doesn't show us anything concrete. However, we already know that the final icon will have to depict the head of the Stalker, the main mascot of chapter 5, and this allows us to make some interesting assumptions. This image, in fact, is not entirely new. If we pay attention, we can notice that the head of the Stalker has already appeared within the series. At the end of Chapter 8, there is a secret room that contains a very peculiar monitor. If we turn on that monitor, we can see the image of the Stalker's head, although it is all pixelated and lacking detail. This is a clear clue that the character has already been introduced visually and that the creators are preparing the ground for its role in Chapter 5. Now, considering the style of the previous game icons, we can make some deductions. The official icons are never pixelated. They always have a clean, clear style, consistent with the overall graphics of the series. So, even if at the moment we only see the Stalker in a pixelated version on the secret monitor, the final icon will most likely look very similar to that image, but adapted to the style of the other chapter icons. In other words, the icon will maintain the shape, the main details, and the overall appearance of the character, but it will be sharper, with more defined colors, and with the same visual language we have already seen in Brushista's icon and those of the previous chapters. This connection between the pixelated monitor image and the official icon allows us to have a very interesting preview. Even though we cannot see the complete icon yet, we can already start imagining it. The head of the Stalker will be the symbol of Chapter 5, an image that will foreshadow mystery, tension, and probably some creepy elements of the gameplay. It's a detail that shows us how much the creators pay attention to every aspect of the series, foreshadowing characters in subtle but effective ways in order to build curiosity and anticipation among players before the official release of the chapter. Now let's move on to the most fascinating part. Let's make some theories about the Stalker and try to understand what role it will have in the story. As we have already seen in the past, in the very first official screenshot of Chapter 5, this character appears behind a wall, as if silently observing from a distance without being noticed. This detail already tells us a lot. The Stalker is not a mascot like the others who immediately appear on the scene with a clear role. On the contrary, it seems to be a figure that acts in the shadows, watching carefully without fully revealing itself. And here comes its name, the Stalker. This term literally means the one who stalks or the one who secretly follows. This makes us think that this character may have been hidden all this time. Maybe it has been watching us since the very beginning of the adventure, since Chapter 1, without us ever realizing it. Every step we took, every choice we made, may have been under its silent gaze, and now, with Chapter 5, the time of its true appearance has finally arrived. But there's more! On the monitor of the secret room that appears in Chapter 8, next to the pixelated image of the Stalker's head, we can read a disturbing message. Soon, the truths will be revealed. This detail suggests that the Stalker is not just a passive observer, but a character who holds knowledge, secrets, and truths that have so far remained hidden from the player. Its role may therefore be closely linked to the revelation of unresolved mysteries, perhaps even connected to the reason why the whole Garten of Banban story exists. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. You are amazing. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.